Welcome to Sales Development Secrets. I'm Steve here with Brian. Brian, we have a guest I'm excited about because as we're meeting with him, I mean, in addition to all the great stuff he's going to share with us, we're going to talk about. In meeting with him, I found out that we have something in common. Well, I attempted to do what he
What
did.
he does.
We both played well, I was a hack, but we both attempted to play he played the greatest sport devised by man. A rugby player. So he was a back rather than a forward, and okay,
Don't hold it against me.
but he played it on a level where I can't even crack that joke anymore. So,
And say, I'm
what
not even in the conversation. I played baseball.
there you go. Want to introduce Benjamin Roach on the podcast here. Benjamin, I could go on, but we talked a lot, kind of prepare for this, but I'll kind of let you introduce yourself a little bit here.
Thanks so much, Steve. And greatest sport on earth, I would agree. Heavy contact, unlike baseball. Sorry, Brian. But
I was a catcher, so there was contact involved.
there was contact, right? But hey, it all led us here, right? Somehow we're all now in sales and RevOps and dealing with the way AI is managing life today. So really excited to be here. Excited to dive into all things kind of RevOps AI and how we're using it to kind of structure our go-to-market and see and talk about the trends that we're seeing face our SDRs and people who are on the front lines.
Introduce kind of your company, where you come from, and yeah, tell us kind of about what you're working in right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So currently, I'm working for a startup company called Optio Incentives, which is actually based out of Norway. And we're growing and expanding all throughout Europe, finding our way into the North America market. And what Optio does is they help companies design and administrate their employee share plans. So think about your RSUs, your stock options, equity programs, all of that. We help design, manage, so that you as a participant don't have to stress too much about it. And then and then as a company, right, it takes that burden off of you as well. So we're in a pretty unique market, especially dealing with all the financial data, the scrutiny around it. So it gets quite interesting, especially as you go, great, how do we train our AI? How do we create things more efficiently without exposing thousands and thousands upon data points that could be corrupted?
Right.
I'll just kind of dive right into it here.
Yeah.
There's so much smoke and mirrors out there in the LinkedIn space, everywhere. I don't care if it's Reddit. I don't care if you're looking back at MySpace. Still, there's so much garbage out there when it comes to AI. Like, where are you seeing the hype? What
Yeah.
where's the kind of environment there right now?
Yeah. So I mean, it's we were talking about this last time we spoke, right? It's pretty
Uh-huh.
wild nowadays where it's we used to be in call centers on a call floor with managers plugging into a jack, and we used to dial phone trees just to hit our numbers, right? And
Right,
I think
right.
that the hype around AI about making more people efficient is definitely real. I think where the hype is getting over exploded is where you see things on LinkedIn where it's like, get rid of HubSpot, get rid of Clay. You can do everything inside of Claude today or in Gemini today, right? And that's just not the reality, sadly. And so where we're seeing the hype internally is of how do we create more efficient processes and how do we take the manual work off of people and put it into a system that can do that dirty kind of admin work for them. But then also, how can we drive the right behaviors? So, one of the examples that I'd love to share with you guys is
Yeah.
we use today what we call a territory bot. And the territory agent sends a Slack message to the rep every Monday with an overview of their territory. Here are the top accounts that are showing the top buying signals and the last time you contacted them, and the SDR or the AE that's associated to it. Here's the suggested action item. Go do it. Hey, here are all your tier one accounts that you haven't touched in over 60 days.
Mhm.
Maybe we should adjust the tiering, or maybe we should start reaching out and figuring out what's going on. And so that is a very dirty and clean, simple agent, right, that we're using to help drive the right behavior, to put things in front of the reps to go and action what we need them to action, versus just saying, hey, go build an artifact inside of Claude or go build an agent inside of Gemini and live in your silo.
I think that's one of the things that I'm seeing that you're doing that's really great is that I think the trap with some of these great tools is that, hey, I can build out something that's good for me. You can build out something that's good for you. Brian could have a third idea. And if we just kind of didn't live in those silos and we kind of had something that was across the organization, then maybe we leverage each other's ideas to make it better, or maybe I'm missing something in the way I'm thinking through something. So like my
Yeah.
numbers are off. I think you even kind of shared an example of one that was like wildly off.
Yeah, and I'll
Mhm.
actually share a different example that happened to me yesterday
Okay.
with my CRO, and Dan Kelly is amazing. He will not mind that I'm throwing him under the bus here whatsoever. You know, hopefully
I
I'm on
live under a
vacation when he
bus.
listens to this, but it'll be fine,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, right.
Uh,
Just don't share the link.
just what's the link? Yeah, yeah, exactly. But so he was using Claude and he was like, "Hey Claude, I need to, I've been asked around some like pipeline metric numbers. I want to kind of show how we're maturing in our pipeline and go to market." Asked Claude to pull numbers, and obviously he knows the numbers inside and out just like I do, and knew it was wrong. And the message was, "Claude gave me shit. I need help. Tell me what's real and what's not real." And I think that's where the danger is, right? So many companies are forgetting that AI is wonderful, but AI has to be trained. There has to be that synthetic layer when someone goes, "Hey, what is annual recurring revenue?" It's outputting the right definition that you as a company have aligned on. The other example I shared, right, where someone had said, "Hey, what's the AAR of all of our customers in the UK?" What Claude had done was, "Oh, you want the estimated revenue per company, what their estimated revenue is, right?" So instead of coming back with a reasonable number, it's coming back with a number in the billions. And if that was the case, we'd be a unicorn by now.
Right, right. Yeah, well, at least, at least.
Right.
But I look at AI slop that's out there, and when people refer to
Mm.
as AI slop, and what I think it is it's when people take those like, "Oh, Claude said this, therefore here we go."
It must be true.
And it reminds me of like there's an Office episode where Michael Scott is like driving with the GPS and the GPS said turn right and drives
Turn
right into the
right.
lake, but it said to turn right. And it's like, wait, we know that when we're talking about GPS and directions, we've all had that
Right.
experience. We're like, no, this isn't good. But somehow
100%.
AI, well, clearly, we have 5 billion of ARR in the UK. Like,
It's spot on, and I think you would know we know where that pressure is coming from, right? Companies are being asked to grow just as fast, but
mhm,
more efficiently with less headcount, right? So we have that going on ever since the collapse of the Silicon Valley Bank. We are seeing more and more boards put pressure on AI first products to be AI first. What does AI mean? So everyone's kind of running in this direction without realizing, hey, there's a back layer and there's an administrative layer that still exists. I laugh at a lot of the stuff I see on LinkedIn. And we're like, we rebuilt our CRM and we're ditching HubSpot, we're ditching Salesforce to use our home built Claude CRM. It's like you're gonna have the same problems in 3 months when you have a data infrastructure that's wrong, you're not managing the back end or the inputs. So, we even see it today where we're encouraging people to go build things, right? Go build, go test, make things that are more efficient for you. But then if you want to share it, guess who then becomes the owner of it? And when it breaks or needs updating, guess who's doing it? That
right.
user that user that created it, right?
Mhm.
And so
Yeah,
now that
yeah,
efficiency that we saw maybe for the first month or two has now completely declined and disappeared because now they're spending what efficient time they gained in updating that app, updating that artifact.
That's interesting. Do you guys have anything in place? Like, how are you handling that where you have reps or potentially, your reps, your SDRs people in the org who are going out and creating things that are making them more efficient.
Mm.
Do you have anything in play where you guys are doing something like, "Hey, we're gonna assimilate that. We're gonna make that part of what we do, and I, Benjamin, am gonna take that over and make sure it's
Mm.
working."
Yeah, really good question. And one of the things that I think Optio is doing really actually uniquely is we actually have an AI SWAT team, and a certain person from each department joins that kind of biweekly meeting to talk about this is what the teams are testing with. What can we make more efficient and take on from them? So one of the ones that I think I was talking to you guys about, could be wrong. Haven't had enough coffee today, but is the account research level, right? So a lot of our SDRs are
Yes.
running this like account research. A lot of it's public knowledge, some of it isn't, just to better their outreach, to help prep them for conversations. And so we had reps testing it on their own to see what they could come up with. And once we started getting their feedback and seeing what they were using, we took it over, automated it, made sure the prompts were correct, and now reps are just running all with the same research agent. And the option is there for them to do it on their own, but we're seeing a huge draw on where it's like, oh, this is already here for me. It's already meeting me where I'm work. I can just click this button, get the research that I need, prompt my outreach in here, and off I go.
I think one of the thing is I look at that example and I look at the example that you shared about, your CRO, right? Versus, the 5 billion example is there's an element of self-awareness and awareness of where we're at right now, where it's you're saying to the reps, okay, here's this capability that we want to give you. We're going to test it. So test it and break it and experiment with it and try things. And they know, okay, we are experimenting. And then, so it's going to come out with some good stuff. It's going to come with some bad stuff. And then you've got the CRO who's like, all right, this isn't right. And it's aware of what is so we can refine it versus it told me to turn right. Right. And as a result, you're getting some really good output with it and some really good use cases with it, as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one thing that we haven't talked about that I'm starting to see at my own organization where I don't necessarily have a solution for is how do you deal with companies that are running multiple models? Is it Gemini? Is it Claude? Right? What is it Grok? What are you running? What are you allowing people to run on? Because
Mm.
that just adds another layer to it, right? If you have some reps working in Claude, some working in Gemini, both have their pros and cons. I think we're going to see kind of the dips and peaks of, which module is kind of the
Well,
highest.
who's in first place today? And
Well,
it's going to change
exactly.
tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. And so like the burden that I don't think people are realizing is like whatever infrastructure you build, right? You may have to rebuild it. You may have to retrain another system on what you're already training. So if you're making an update in one, you got to make an update in the other as well. And so it's just something that I'm starting to see as well. Cause I even got a question on Slack today. Are we a Gemini house or a Claude house? Which way are we going? And
Uh,
usually the answer is, well, it depends. What are you trying to do?
You're what
Well,
day
and
is
that
it?
as you start getting I don't know, Benjamin, I don't know if you've, gone down this rabbit hole of kind of looking into harnesses, and essentially building out what you wanted to do, and then just kind of plugging in the
Yeah.
the the power, the LM power behind it based off of, what makes the most sense. So,
Yeah.
it's I think what you're describing is an issue that is not just, something you guys are seeing. It's something that, I think is across the economy.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. s- Brian, you're gonna ask something.
I was gonna say, I was thinking about something because you were talking specifically about the SDR and research, and I'm a longtime sales leader with more focus on the closers, the AEs. And I think in our conversation we had with you had mentioned how you guys are attacking deal reviews through Claude. Was it Claude you guys are using for the deal reviews?
We
And
are. Yeah.
tell us a little bit more about that because what you're doing is really cool.
Yeah. So again, I think our mission, or at least like my kind of RevOps framework in terms of how we're using AI, is like how do we drive efficiency, but also meet reps where they are, right? You guys have all sat in deal reviews. I've sat in deal reviews where we're on a 30-minute call, we're pulling up deals, we're getting like half-assed insights, and the deal review kind of goes nowhere, right? Kind of a waste of time. It's a lot of money for everyone to be in a room and have this meeting, and it
And
doesn't do anything.
how many deals have literally gone, out in the garbage bin because the rep just wants to get out of the deal review, or it goes the other way, which is, oh yeah, this one's definitely going to close this week. Have you had
Yeah.
a second call with them? No, 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 no. But this one's closing this week. The
Right, right. Or
happy
that deal
ears.
review turns into like, we're going to focus on this one deal because now we've gone down a rabbit hole and your
Yep.
entire pipeline just got ignored because we're focusing on this.
Yes, yes.
Um, but sorry, Brian. So the long way to circle back to that is what we have is a deal review agent that sits on the deal object inside of HubSpot, or you could do it inside of Salesforce if you're running Salesforce. And what it does is the rep clicks that button and says, "Hey, deal review agent, go review my deal. Give me insights into what my next steps are, what we last talked about, and then the gaps to what's missing." And the gaps to what's missing is all based off what stage it's in, right? So, like, obviously, at an S1, we're not talking about the procurement process. Doesn't make sense to do that. And so, what's really nice though is that that whole deal review that gets written out as an output gets copied into the deal itself. So you as a rep can see where you're at, but then you as a manager can go in and see exactly the same thing. and see that output, which makes these deal reviews a lot more interesting now because everyone's come prepared, everyone's ran a deal review, and then it's like, all right, Steve, on this deal, we know these are the outliers. What are you doing to solve these? Great. Next deal. What are you doing to solve these outliers that have been highlighted?
Have you
And
found that oh, sorry, I was gonna say, have you found that both the reps and the managers are keen on using this? It's really helping them, so they're when you put in, say, a new software tool, uh, user adoption is usually an issue, but in this case, it sounds like that would be something that they would want readily. Are you seeing that with your team, or is there still some maybe user adoption work to do?
Yeah, so I think with anything user adoption, there's always work to do, right?
even when
But
it's just a button to click, right?
even when it's a button to click to make their lives easier, right? They're like, ah, fuck, I gotta do this. Um, but like, so the management team is absolutely loving it because they're getting insights that is somewhat unbiased, right? It's not a rep just blowing smoke. It's
Yep.
something that's being reviewed and given to them from kind of what we call like an unbiased bot or an agent. And the reps are starting to drive more adoption towards it because it's helping them prep because they know come forecast call when I'm going to get drilled on this deal or come that deal review when I get drilled on this deal, I'm going to be asked about these things because my manager knows these things are missing.
Wh-
And so the adoption isn't like, "Oh, I love this." The adoption is, "Fuck, I gotta have answers to this."
I'm interested though. So I think it'd be interesting too to see the reps that are like, okay, cool, I'm in, right? Because all you're
Mm,
really doing ultimately at this point is you're saying, okay, here is the same measuring stick that everybody's going to use, and if you're like little happy Pollyanna and everything's roses and sunshine and rainbows, and everything's going to close this week, it's being tempered. But also, if you are, and this is two Disney examples in one comment, if you are Eeyore and everything sucks, right? Like it's gonna like, all right, it's gonna adjust it that way.
yeah,
One, I think you're gonna find that reps can't hide and sandbag stuff. It's gonna put light on everything.
Mhm.
Um, and it'll be interesting. I've known reps. I was an SDR for a rep who would have absolutely hated this because he would just in these meetings just like say whatever just to get through it and then be running his stuff, right?
yep, yep.
It drove his managers nuts. But, like, he was just trying to get through the meeting, he just didn't care, didn't see any value in it. Now you're gonna actually drive some value there, right?
And we've seen that value. So we launched this out in towards the Q4 last year, and ever since we've launched this and we've been running with it, our forecast at a management level is pretty much 90% spot on. So from in Q1, we were able to lock in our forecast by week 4, and it never changed at a management level.
And that's something in forecasting where 90%, that's a 10%, but, like, we're
And
talking
it's
forecasting here. Where
Yep,
forecasting, I think best case before has been, like, what, 50/50? Like,
right.
maybe? A question I have is, have you guys built in
Mhm.
any, like, reinforcement learning into it so that, hey, as your product evolves and as motions and technology evolves that, hey, maybe this rep tries something in his motion and it moves the deal faster, that it adjusts on the fly, or do you need to go and manually pull those levers and push those buttons?
Yeah, and so bringing this full circle, right? It goes back into like AI is amazing, but someone's got to manage the back end, right? And so one of the things that like we do because we sell to public and private companies, and public companies obviously operate completely differently than private companies when it comes to share plans and what's required of them. And so the deal agent knows, hey, based off if this is a private or public company, these are the things that I need to look for versus if we're talking to a private company. And same thing by region, right? What we require here in the US is very different from what's required in Germany.
Right.
And so
Mhm.
we've had to train the agent to understand the differences and the nuances of it all. But one of the things we also have to do from, our perspective is we're doing audits every 4 to 6 months on all the agents that we're running to catch those, kind of nuances where it's like, "Ooh, this rep did some like this differently and this changed it. Why did this change it? What was the driver? How can we change the agent now to adapt to that?"
Yeah. Wow. I love that use case. Thanks. That's
Yeah.
it's yeah, it's been that's the most frustrating part for me in running sales organizations, is that right there. And
Mm,
QBRs are typically the most time suck waste of time unless you have a good solid measuring stick that says this is actually what happened. Um, yeah. Uh, uh, One of the things you talked about is training the AI, looking at things like CRM and how do you teach it kind of what to trust, what data to trust? Because I mean, to AI, data's data at the beginning
Mm.
until you tell it. So what are you doing there to say, hey, pay attention to these fields, ignore these fields, this data sort that, like what are you doing there?
Yeah. My director of data, who's going to be laughing at me as I talk about this, it's a painful stake in the beginning, right? We've all been inside of a CRM where that CRM has been around forever. And at some point, there are probably 26 admins in there, and the CEO is probably an admin, and there's 1,000 different fields that all mean the same thing, right?
Right.
And so part
Yes.
of that is like before you even go into an AI tool, you have to have your own house in order, and you have to have your house cleaned up, and you have to know what's accurate versus what's not accurate, right? Once that's done, which I painstakingly have done at every company I've been at, once that's done, right, then you're building out your skill sets, right? So when I'm saying, hey, if someone's querying about new business, look at this pipeline, look at these field IDs. Don't use the standard, date entry from HubSpot because HubSpot fucks it up 24/7. Use the custom fields that we use, right? So you're building and training those skill sets. And so that's why I think from a rep perspective, reps building agents is quite interesting because the reps don't always know all the nuances in the back end, right? That's
Right.
kind of the beauty of it. But that's why I think where RevOps is really starting to own kind of the AI space, right? Because they know the data forward and backwards. They know what fields need to be used. They know what cleanup needs to be done. So I think that's the really exciting part for at least selfishly for me from the RevOps perspective, right? Is as we get more into this AI world and start looking at more of these workflows, it's like it's job security because
Right.
we have to be able to the ones that can help grow and secure this, but also make sure what it's outputting is correct.
No, I love that, Benjamin. In fact, it's interesting. I don't know if you noticed recently. There was a Forbes article that just came out that mentioned how Sam Altman and Dario Amode were basically saying we were wrong. Dario Amode was
Mm,
saying, "Hey, we're looking at 50% of white collar work going away because of AI." And they both have come back now. They're both companies are about to IPO, but they're saying, "Hey, we were wrong. It's going to augment, not replace." And that just hit like what yesterday or something like that. I posted about it on LinkedIn this morning. Um,
yeah,
I think AI can bring a great amount of job security if we're using it and using it right.
yeah,
I
yeah,
think it's
absolutely.
Oh, go ahead. I was gonna say, I think it's just gonna change the job market. Like I use the example growing up in Detroit. They with the assembly lines, right? Yeah, I'm not turning a wrench. Now I'm operating the robot that turns the wrench
Mm,
that builds the car, right? There's still the job there. It's just a more technical, advanced, evolved role.
Yeah.
And, rather than, just the CRM builder that, I've seen some RevOps guys reduced to,
mm,
look at what you're going to be, it's shifting, right? To your
yeah,
point.
yeah, absolutely. And I think it's also shifting on the sales side because I think Brian, that article is amazing because it also pointed out where I think so many people have been like, AI is going to replace everything. AI is going to replace their
Mhm.
jobs. And it's that human element, though, isn't gone. I was recently speaking at the SaaSiest event out in Sweden a couple weeks ago, and I had the privilege of listening to someone from Lagora, and they, big unicorn, 18 months launch, got to 100 million AR. Amazing, right? Like, wonderful story. And some, blanket on his name, but from their go to market team, one of the quotes that stuck with me is the more AI you build into your product, the more human your go to market has to become.
Yeah.
And and that was kind of a light bulb for me as well because it's like yes, AI is a powerful driver of efficiency, but what people curate meaningful moments that comes from trust within salespeople. So as a sales culture, that human connection is still extremely important,
Can you, can
right?
you see that
Because
one more time real
100%.
quick? One more
yeah,
time?
yeah, which
Yeah.
which
Like
part?
the quote, like
Yeah, so the
what
quote was, Yeah, the more AI you build into your product, the more human your go-to-market has to become. And I'm blanking on his name, but he was from Legora and mentioned that. And that to me, again, was just a light bulb. It's so spot on because I think ultimately from sales to CS, right? What's our job? Deliver value, right?
Right.
To not only our customers and partners. And how do we do that? Curating, that's the human element. So as much as yes, AI is making us more efficient, I think these companies are now realizing, and we're realizing, like you can't replace the human element of it.
Well, it's why, to talk about OpenAI and Anthropic again, it's why currently they're hiring salespeople, they're hiring
Mhm.
SDRs,
Yep.
right? I
Yep.
think,
Yep.
it's not that they have all the answers, but it's just an interesting, data point there,
Yeah.
so yeah,
Yeah. 100%. People buy from people, right? I don't think that's changed.
right?
Not at all.
Yeah, I don't know that I'd want to, but I wouldn't go play rugby with, an Atlas robot with AI built into it. Yeah, so, yeah,
Fair. Very
anyway,
fair.
so so
Man.
anyway, Benjamin, we're just about out of time, and I appreciate, any kinda last points or kind of like a good takeaway that, that we should send everybody home with?
Benjamin's
Yeah.
words of wisdom
Oh, there we go.
Benjamin's words of
It's an
wisdom.
ongoing segment. It's just great that now we have someone named Benjamin to,
to finally fill it.
right,
No, no, I think, I mean, I can't steal that quote enough, right? Of like the AI you build into your product, the more human go to market has to become. Like I think that is so critical to just remember. So as much as we continue to build and automate and make things more efficient, we have to remember the human element, whether that is from a selling perspective or even internal, right? Like as we build out agents, are we driving the right behavior with reps? Are we meeting them where they work? Are we making their days more efficient? Are we getting the things in front of them that need to be in front of them? Because if we're not, then we've just built a really cool agent that's hanging out by itself.
right, right. It's
100%.
it's it's giving you cookie recipes in the voice of Jack Sparrow, and it's about it. So,
Pretty much. Yeah. Yep.
not that I've ever built that or asked it to do that, maybe once.
Made.
If not, the idea is now out there.
Well, Benjamin, if anybody wants to connect with you, is LinkedIn kind of the best way to reach out? And
LinkedIn is the best place to reach out. And if for all those revenue operators out there, if you guys are on Wizard of Ops, I'm out there as well in the RevOps community.
awesome,
Love it.
awesome. Well, Benjamin, I appreciate it. We'll make sure we have a link to Optio Incentives and your LinkedIn and everything in the comments. And looking forward to seeing where you guys go. And I want to hear more about these. We're gonna have to have like a follow up episode in the future here.
Heck yeah.
So,
Because I'm sure in 6 months, everything will change. So, but
oh,
thank you guys so much for having me. Much appreciated.
thank you. Appreciate it.